This the story of crypto blood and truth blitz. Ask them a cliff high what the truth is. They was just talking about the blockchain. That's when they heard Janet yelling and the cops came. They said, give me all your Bitcoin and lock aim. Then Jamie Dimon showed up and the shots rained. So they hopped in the Lambo and took off fast. Welcome to the Block Party Podcast.
Then you owe taxes on that currency. But if you just hold Bitcoin, if you just hold Dash, if you just hold Monero, if you just hold Litecoin, there's no taxes on it.
So that will be interesting to see if that actually occurs, where we have like rumors about the Fed coin, if that actually happens, because then that will play directly into Jim Willie's theory of the Shice dollar and that secondary domestic currency that we use to kind of transition things. So that would be interesting if that actually happens.
I mean, I agree with Jim Willie. I know Jim Willie, and I agree with him that we'll be moving to another currency. It just depends what it's going to be.
Right.
Are the people going to stand up and say, we've had enough with the central banks, we want our own currency? Because really our founding fathers, they didn't build the country with a central bank in mind. They didn't say, hey, let's have the Federal Reserve or, the Central Bank of America, and they'll loan us the funds and all the people will be enslaved. Actually, there was no taxes whatsoever because the government was supposed to create the currency with no interest attached. And you can balance the books. It was backed by gold. And there was really, it was going to be a good system where everything was balanced. And then, of course, the central banks tried twice, and Andrew Jackson got rid of the last central bank. And then in 1913, the Federal Reserve was born. And of course, they changed their name to make it seem like it's part of the government. But,
right.
I mean, the whole thing, when we moved to that point of the transition, the people are going to have to make a decision. Our government will make a decision. Now, if the government is completely corrupt and they're not abiding by this Constitution, and the central bankers have them and they control them, we're going to be moving to whatever system they want us to move to, because the dollar is pretty much dead. It's
right.
Too much. There's too much debt. It's lost so much value. And you can see already countries are moving away from it. So it's a system that they know, because their system is designed to fail after 40, 45 years. They know they have to move us to something else.
Since we've been talking about these governments and cryptocurrencies and stuff, what are your thoughts about this Petro coin here out of Venezuela? That's an interesting situation there. Do you think that type of concept will start to grow as other countries begin to circumvent the United States cartel? Do you think that type of system will work in the long run?
I think a lot of countries are going to move towards either the Petro yuan or creating their own cryptocurrency. Venezuela did. Now, some people say the Petro coin is not really a cryptocurrency. Some people say it is. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of countries, if they are sanctioned or if there is pressure on them, this is an incredible opportunity to create something where you can completely bypass it and have other countries purchase your assets. And you're using a completely different currency outside of the system.
Right.
So to me, you could see that how this is going to work, just like the everyday person who can use a cryptocurrency to be outside of the system. The countries can do the same thing. And many countries, if the pressure is continually on them, they will move to a cryptocurrency and actually use that to, use it for the sale of their assets. And of course, Venezuela is using it for oil.
Right.
Which allows them to go right around the dollar.
Yep.
The sanctions are meaningless at this point. Mm-hmm. And, you can still have your country intact. I mean, countries have been getting around sanctions for a very long time. They use gold, they use the barter system, they use other countries' currencies. Mm-hmm. So sanctions at this point, they don't really do that much anymore, because with China and Russia creating the systems that we have here today, and actually with the petro yuan and having their currencies, it's difficult to sanction a country. There was a time where the U.S., pretty much controlled everything with the dollar. Everyone was using the dollar, and if you got off the dollar, you were kind of screwed. Today, it's not the same. So I think countries, if they're pushed to the edge, they will move towards their own cryptocurrency. They will create their own cryptocurrency. And if they have an asset to sell like oil, it will totally work, because countries will say, okay, I will mine this, I will get it, and I will use it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree with you about the petro yuan. I think that one is really going to be, I think that's ultimately going to bring for sure the death of the petrodollar. Not yet, but it's going to happen, in my eyes anyway. And I know you've talked about it a lot. And I don't see that as a very good situation for the United States and for our current system. That's for sure.
Yeah, right now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's like that situation with Venezuela. I don't agree with Maduro and the way he handles or treats the citizens of Venezuela, but I think those types of moves are going to be, those little steps are going to eventually set up a very big market that countries can trade exports and imports around the petrodollar and not have to use, the U.S. dollar to as a means of settling these different transactions. And I think this is a great step in the right direction. I think I actually heard that India is in talks with Venezuela regarding settling oil through the petro. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm pretty excited about that story. It's kind of, it got a little attention, but I think it's bigger than what is represented,
Yeah, usually when there's no attention and no one's talking about it, that's when things are really happening, because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want other countries to notice what is really going on.
Right.
And if they, if other countries notice it, all of a sudden, hey, we can do the same thing. Why do we have to use the dollar? But I think a lot of countries are starting to do that anyhow. And, we don't have to agree with the different leaders in different countries. I mean, they're their own countries. If the people are unhappy with their leaders, then, just like here, if we're unhappy with our leaders, we, as a people, we need to do something to, get that leader out of power or band together and do something. It's funny because the U.S. is blaming everyone for, getting involved in our elections. Well, how many times has the U.S. been involved in other countries' elections and who's running the countries, which is,
through just violence too, not a social media manipulation, supposedly.
Right.
We've, through force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Amazing.
we don't have to agree with different leaders in different countries, but the countries that move away from the dollar, they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it because there's, when we place sanctions on these countries, we don't help the people there. We make it harder for the people.
Yeah.
People can't purchase things. Their currency devalues. People go hungry. It's not a very good situation. I mean, just look at like Syria, look at Ukraine, look at all these different areas that we were involved in and place sanctions on these different countries. It didn't help the situation. Actually made the situation a lot worse than it really is.
Yeah, Iraq. You look at Iraq.
We were the cause of it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sanctions on Iran right now it's not going to help the situation. It's just going to make it worse.
Right.
So,
no, I totally agree.
So Dave, the last topic I wanted to talk to you about today was regarding privacy, user data and privacy. I know you're probably familiar with the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation that's coming down the pipeline in the EU. And then at the same time, we have this whole fallout with Facebook and, Cambridge Analytica. What do you think of this whole situation? We've got the CEO of Facebook running around the world now, apologizing. It's all scripted. You can tell he doesn't really care, in my opinion. But do you think that cryptocurrencies, and really more so the blockchain, will be an avenue for us to really protect our data and be able to have social media platforms without them censorship and them exploiting our own data?
Yeah, I think so, that? Because right now, I mean, if you have a centralized system like Facebook, and I agree with you, his whole response is scripted. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were selling, what they were gathering, all the data from all the different individuals. They knew exactly what they were doing. So no one should accept his apology. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. But I think with blockchain, and we can see it already starting to happen on social media, almost like Steemit with DTube and BitChute and all those other places. We really don't need centralized corporations anymore to handle everything, like YouTube, for instance, because we can have a decentralized blockchain system where you can have it spread out around the world. People can upload, and if you want to have advertisements, if you want to have that, the blockchain can handle all that and keep track of what everyone is doing. And if it's decentralized, it keeps everything in order, because it's not something, you know, just one thing you take down. And I think it's not centralized in one country, it's centralized around the world. I mean, decentralized around the world. And I think it would keep everyone on the up and up, because it's a ledger system once again, and you can refer back and you can find out the information. And I think going forward, I think we're going to see huge changes in the internet. I think we're going to see it in social media. I think we're going to see it in many different places. One of the things that I was looking at is even the production of gold, you know, bringing it out of the ground, using the blockchain to keep track of where it goes and, you know, who uses it and where, you know, where it goes next. It's the same thing with almost every single business, with real estate, with everything else. You can put it on there and you can track where everything goes. And it just tells the truth. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have allegiance to any country or any group. It's just a ledger system, decentralized around the world, keeping track of what everyone is doing. And if you need to find out what this public address has done, you just go back in time and say, okay, look where they sent the money. Look at the chain in command. Look what happened here. And you can pretty much find out everything. And I think this is what the deep state and those in power, I think this is what they're most worried about, because they're not really into the truth. They're not really into letting everyone see what they're doing and where all the cash is going. They like the cash system where they can take it and have covert operations and have regime change and buy drugs and gun running and all this stuff. They don't want blockchain. They don't want any of that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think once we get to a point, you know, as far as like the social media stuff goes, when it becomes maybe a little more easy to use, such as maybe Steemit and DTube and things like that, for the regular person, I think we will start to see, or at least I hope, a huge migration over into, you know, blockchain based, be it social media or, you know, things like that. It's just, I think we still need to get over that barrier, where it makes it a little more easy to use and understand for the average person.
Yeah. And I think, and I was saying this when I was in New York, Nick, like, I feel like we should be pushing, those that are in the crypto community should be pushing people to actually use services like DTube, Steemit, where it's not so much of a speculation. It's not a speculative play. You're not buying Bitcoin to see it go to $1 million.
Right.
You're actually using something and you're earning cryptos at the same time. And so I think that way it's more of an organic way to kind of grow the community.
Dip your toe in the pool.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we can get more people to do that.
I agree with you. And I think this is just the beginning stages. It's almost like the internet when it was first born,
right?
And people started to actually use it. You know, when you went on to AOL, it was dial-up. You really couldn't do that much. It's the same thing with this. This is like, you know, blockchain 1.0.
Yeah. Yep.
This is just the beginning stages where the coins were, oh, let me hold on to it. Let me invest in it because everyone's telling me it's going to 5,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever it's going to go to. And I think those days are going to come to an end. And I think it's going to stabilize. And then I think moving into 2.0, I think we're going to see all different applications come out. And people are going to go, I see what you can use the blockchain for. Wow, this is incredible. Almost like the internet. I mean, really think about it. Think about what we use the internet for. We have these phones now that are connected to the internet. We stream video. We do all these different things now that no one even thought of. And we can all do them on the internet. And before, I remember, you know, with AOL and everything, it was like, oh, don't put your credit card on the internet because it will get stolen.
Right.
Do your bank on the internet because, you know, someone can steal all of that stuff. And today, you don't even think twice. You go into a store, you pay for something, you go onto all the different social media sites, you do all these, you watch movies, you do all these different things. I think eventually what's going to happen with blockchain is people are going to develop these different applications, and they're just going to be completely amazing. And we're going to come out of that speculative, you know, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero phase of, you know, let's just make a lot of money from it, where here are really good applications, really good business models. And people are going to start to say, I see what we need. I see what we need to use it for. And I think that's the next phase. And I think we're headed there. I think we're with Ethereum, with all these different technologies coming out. I think we are definitely headed in that direction. And once it starts to come out even more so than it is today. And I think a lot of the coins might disappear because just like the internet, we had thousands of websites popping up, you know, all these
pets.com.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't realize that you're shipping dog food, you know, is very expensive because it's heavy. They didn't realize that. But I think the same thing's going to happen now. There's a lot of coins out there. Some are on the up and up, some are not. And those will be flushed out. And then you'll see what's left over. Apps will be coming in. The technology will be coming in, and we'll be using stuff that we never even thought of. It'll be like, holy crap, this is incredible. And I think that's totally where it's headed. And I think we're at the ground floor right now, just like with the internet. When, you know, I mentioned this in my reports with like domain names. No one knew what domain names were back then. No one knew, hey, maybe I should buy these for like $0.25. You know, maybe I should buy Macy's. Maybe I should buy the word Amazon. Maybe I mean, think about it. If you bought up all those names, you'd be multi-millionaire today because you'd be able to sell it back to the company and make millions on them. But there's a lot of people that did do that. And I think this is the same today. People getting in with Bitcoin, Litecoin, this is the ground floor. And I think eventually, yes, I think these coins will rise in price, but I think applications will be created and we'll all be able to use things in the future that we never even thought of. Just like the smartphones today, like people, you would never have thought like, oh, I could do all my stuff on this little phone thing. Everyone back then when cell phones were out was just, you know, making calls and maybe that cumbersome texting type of thing that you were doing with, you know, 3 letters on a key.
Right. Yeah, you're so right, man. You hit it right on the head. And we'll definitely have to I'm going to have you come back on and talk about EOS. I don't know if you're familiar with that project. They'll be launching next week. Next week. And that's supposed to be blockchain 2.0. You talked about us being in 1.0 now. So we'll have you come back on, talk about that. And, you know, just get your insight on other things crypto related, and also government and economically related to what's going on out here. So we appreciate your time. You definitely know what you're talking about. We've been following you for a long time, and all the best to you, Dave. Thanks for joining.
Definitely.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and I'll be more than happy to come back on. No problem. Really had a great time with you guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right.
Too. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yeah, you can catch Dave at www.x22report.com or on Twitter at X22report, and of course on YouTube, where he's very, very known. Just type in X22 report and you'll catch him. All right, guys, we're out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Talking about the blockchain. That's when they heard Janet yelling and the cops came. They said, "Give me all your Bitcoin and lock aim." Then Jamie Dimon showed up and the shots rained. So they hopped in the Lambo and took off fast. Welcome to the Block Party Podcast.